Welcome to the Energy Pipeline Podcast, sponsored by Caterpillar. My name is Josh Lowry. We are coming to you live from the Upright Digital Media Studios in Prang & Associates office in Memorial, Texas. I am joined by a friend and colleague in the business, President and CEO of Key Energy Services, Mr. Marshall Dodson. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Marshall, we've been talking a couple minutes offline. I didn't say this offline because it would sound weird if I said that and then I said it again, but there are very few people we interview that I get excited. I like interviewing everybody, by the way. Former guests, thank you for your time. But I have a ton of respect for you as a person, as a professional, as a business leader, as a mentor for myself, from 100 different levels. And this is one of these podcasts for me that's going to be really cool to do. I hope the audience kind of hears the sincerity of me introducing Marshall on this because number one, you should follow us. Marshall looks way better. Congrats on those socks, by the way.
Yeah, well, we do have the 250, the celebration.
Yeah, the 250
coming up.
Years of America.
Yep, and we just had Memorial Day. So those
are American flag socks. He looks great. He's on point. I look like I'm wearing a pink and salmon today. I look great, too. Don't get me wrong.
You look amazing.
But this is going to be a great one. I met Marshall in London close to a decade ago, probably 8-9 years ago at this point, and really got to know you over there. And I said something to Marshall, and I was like, hey, I hope this doesn't come across rude. And I said, you don't look the part of the typical CEO, the 6'5" guy, but you command the room, you lead a bunch of people. I said, how do you do that? And I told you offline we were going to ask who's Marshall Dodson. I guess this is how I'm asking it. How just boom. By the way, this is the best podcast you're ever going to be on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Our friend David DeRode.
He may take exception to that.
Well, I hope he does. I hope he takes a lot of exception. This is better, but go on.
Yeah, no, I remember that, but I don't remember what I said. And,
well, yeah.
But the answer is, I think a big part of leadership and doing that is being authentic. Just being who you are. You see people who come across in certain ways, but it's hard to maintain a fake persona at all times. And I think just being real and being who you are is very powerful. You see so many times these days where people try to influencers, where they try to be something they're not.
Correct.
Right?
Grifters.
Yeah. And I think it's people can see through that when you're not authentic and when you don't really care.
Well, the gist of your answer then was that you really like work.
Well, I do like work. Yeah, no, I do like work. It took me many, many years for my wife to convince me that leaving the office at 7 was not leaving early.
Oh,
right. 7 o'clock is not leaving early.
You're not cheating the company.
Yeah, no, and it will still be there tomorrow.
There's always something to do.
There's always something to do, and you can always work if you want to.
As you've climbed and look, you've been with Key for how long?
21 years.
It's not really, this is not fluff. I wonder the loyalty and the commitment and the work for Key, with Key. Key doesn't look the same without Marshall over the last 21 years. I almost feel like you're like, what needs to be done? I'll do it.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting time.
Yeah.
I've been through several cycles, a lot of different leaders, learned a lot of different things. And even going back before that with my career, worked with so many different people, and you learn good and you learn bad too. And it's a lot, I've made plenty of mistakes, but it's a lot more fun to learn from other people's mistakes than your own mistakes. Living through those kind of times, you just learn, when you're 25 or 35 and you need more experience. I don't really know what that means until you've got the scars.
Yeah.
Right. Until you've got the scars and you've got the perspective on what matters and what really doesn't matter.
Well, again, you've got some scars, but they're good scars at this point. It kind of that lends itself to, can you give the audience, this is the Caterpillar podcast, and they are phenomenal partners on this show. They said basically interview anybody within the pipeline, anything within oil and gas. So they've given us a lot of creative freedom to kind of touch anything we want, from technology, well servicing, frac, just whatever. So this is a pretty educated audience. Not pretty. This is a very educated audience for oil and gas. But do you mind just giving us the scoop on what Key Energy Services is?
Yeah. So today we are a well services company with workover rigs and then a full suite of ancillary equipment around the rig. So we have the rig itself as well as the blowout preventer, accumulator, laydown machines. What else? Pumps, all kinds of different pumps. Big frac pumps, mud pumps, everything you need to do, everything needed to either, drill out a 4-mile lateral horizontal well to drill out the plugs, to pulling rods and changing a pump on a 5-barrel-a-day stripper well, which people haven't been doing, but hopefully with higher oil prices, that'll make sense to do that.
Okay.
Over Key's history, we've been in just about every kind of service you can imagine. We've had frac. We've had wireline, we've had drilling, we've had vac trucks, fluid, saltwater disposal. And, when I took over Key coiled tubing, I was very focused on getting us down to our core, right? The economics in what we do are very challenging, and they have been for the past decade. Probably not as challenging, but still challenging before that. But if you're limited on human and financial capital, you need to focus at what you're best at, right? And so it's just been a process of moving in and selling off and getting out of businesses that we're not known for, right? When people in the oil field think of Key, workover rigs, right?
It's incredible. So I'm going to go back again to that first conversation coming back from London. I asked you, I said, what would you tell me? Because I met you guys, I met Key in 2007 when I was selling drill pipe. You guys were in that world at that time.
We still have tubulars, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not. I've since
you're
in
out.
2009 I left the tubular world. It was a good run to be there, though. That was a fun time to be in that world. So I asked you in 2017, 18 timeframe. I said, what would you like to be known? Marshall, how would you like Key to be known? And you said, if I could just get people to think well service rig, anytime they think well service rig, they think Key. Is that still the case?
Yeah, that's definitely the case. It's really hard to really be great at a lot of things, there have been times Key's been the biggest where we haven't been the biggest, where we are the biggest. I'm not interested in being the biggest. I want to be the best.
Okay.
I want to be the best, and I want to have the best people doing the best work for our customers. Charge a premium price for that.
Sure.
But it's about being the best.
Is it hard to get a premium price these days?
It's getting easier.
Okay.
It's always hard. Look, when you think about oil and gas companies and the way those organizations, a third of an E&P company is geared to squeezing out vendors, right? Like supply chain organizations are huge and they exist for logistics and everything that needs to go, but they also, really work to ensure that they are getting the best deal, some lowest cost, some best value.
So audience, I want to be very clear. There was no prep work here for Marshall. And I'm serious. What's incredible
but we can edit, right?
We can edit, but
yeah.
I love talking to myself. Caterpillar told me that they think I talk too much.
You don't talk too much.
Well, for the record, I like to talk.
Well, I know that.
I'm my favorite subject.
Yes.
So.
You should do your own Josh and Josh podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
You can interview yourself.
Josh and Josh.
Yeah.
Josh, how you feeling today? Pretty good, Josh. Thanks for asking. So, but my point to this is it is incredible how this matches up to 2018. Like everything you're saying today, this is not materially different than it was, 8-9 years ago now. I just don't hear anything that's, not only does it not sound different, I've actually watched you in those 8-9 years. You keep mentioning people. We're gonna touch on people for an extended period of time because I feel like you've done a great job. What is it, Bob Chitwood?
Bob, yes.
Yes. Is he still with you guys?
No, Bob is retired.
He retired, but he was with you guys a long time.
Oh yeah, Bob was 50 years at Key.
Was he really?
If you count, and there was, he could get it to 51 if he wanted to.
Yeah. With his math.
With his first year.
Here's where I was, and here.
Yeah.
50 years.
50 years.
Man, that is a run.
Yeah, we just had another gentleman retire in the Permian Basin. He was 51 years.
With Key?
And predecessor companies.
Sure, okay.
Key's been around as Key for 46, 47 years.
Right.
So, but Key was a roll up, right? It was 110 plus companies that made Key.
All right. Well, hang on a minute. So we're gonna go into the people side of this real quick. What do you think the thread of 50 years ago to now? What's the common thread there?
So this is a cyclical business, right? And it's a business that has been consolidated, deconsolidated, or not deconsolidated. I guess that's one way to put it, where you have a lot of different market entrants come in. It's funny. I was thinking back. This was because for us, we did a bankruptcy in 2016. Okay. And coming out of that,
how many other companies?
Well, like everybody, right? And another out of court restructuring in 2020, like most.
I don't remember anything happening in 2020.
Yeah. But as opposed to many of those other companies, Key's still around, right? And I was thinking about a conversation I had with an investor. This was probably 2018, 2019, and we were talking about the woeful state of oilfield service, of well servicing, and he looks at me and he's like, industries can destroy capital for a decade before they finally kind of get together and get their act together. And I remember thinking, and I probably said it out loud, oh, great, we're halfway through, right? But as I look at it today, we're coming out of, it's been about a decade. And
the numbers you just said.
The market has rationalized quite a bit in terms of the number of players, the booms and the busts. Not everybody has made it through.
Mm-hmm. Right size. I mean, you say rationalize. Would you say right size as well? I mean, where we need to be now.
And you've had a lot of attrition with the equipment. I think we've been cutting up all of our junky old rigs. Most of our competitors have as well. And so when I look at the market today, it's very different. And then the other dynamic is, if you think back to 2016 to now, you had a shift going on where, operators were moving to more horizontals, unconventional plays, and they were slowly exiting the traditional horizontal wells. And so I think that shift has been kind of completed, because in the cycles, the next peak after the down cycle was never as high as the prior. Never as high as the prior, never as high as the prior.
The upticks were shorter.
But I think in our space and in services in general, I think the markets have gotten to the point through attrition to where the next peak is probably going to be as high, right? Like we kind of bottomed as an industry, and I think we'll come to where we were. And when I look at the landscape of just more and more wells, I think that the possibility is definitely there for a higher peak than last time.
So you're telling me that you are a believer in the reports that say that the new wells that are going to be drilled this next 12 months, whatever the number is, right? That you think this next 12 months is going to be pretty good for the industry?
I would say the next 18.
18 months. Okay.
Because when
you're right, I forget where we are right now.
Yeah, you got to remember we're in the somewhere in the we're having an agreement tomorrow. Oil prices are going to drop like a rock. The other side is it's going to be $200 a barrel. Most people are just sitting back and saying, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to wait.
So don't leave. We're going to come right back to that here. The next day, I'm going to put 18 months on this. But how long have you actually been in the oil and gas business? 21 at Key.
Oh, I was at a company called Dynegy, which was we had power generation. We did gas trading.
Yeah.
So I had a stint on the trading side and with power gen, which is a fascinating space, was then, is even more fascinating today. And then prior to that, I was with Arthur Anderson. And Arthur Anderson in Houston, when I started there, you could do oil and gas and everything else. So it was oil and gas.
So the reason I'm asking that is the way you just kind of described the next 18 months. One day you're doing this one, like that sounds almost violent.
It's very violent.
Yeah.
Like there are very few industries where, for most consumer products, most mature industries, if you get a 2% drop in 2 or 3% drop in revenues year on year, that can be catastrophic, right? Like that's big. 50%, 25%, yeah, whatever, right? Yeah. Like that's
the whole team's got it. Up 5%, right?
Yeah. Up, down 25, 30, 50%. That's this industry.
Man, what is it like leading in that kind of environment?
You have to. You're kind of always looking for when the shoe's going to drop, right? Like I can remember, I have a good friend in one of the up cycles. He started a man camp in South Texas.
Okay.
And, he's talking to me about this and how great it's going to be and all the contracts he was getting. And I was like, Jeff, just one thing. So do not sign a contract that commits you. Do not sign a contract you can't get out of, because when it turns off, the lights go out and you're stuck holding the bag on all those contracts. And then a couple of years later, guess what happened? The lights go out.
Was he not an oil and gas guy before that?
No.
Oh.
And he came to me afterwards. He was like, thank you. That was the best advice I've ever gotten, because one day it was full, the next day it wasn't. And I was like, but I have a contract with you. And the oil company was like, yeah, and?
Come get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
we can outlast you.
Yeah. So he made it through and didn't lose it all again because he didn't have any contracts.
My dad described it slightly different. He said, hiring people is easy. Mm-hmm. He's like, firing people is hard.
Well, and
he was talking about emotionally, quite honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get, it's like every hire we make over kind of the low point in the back of your mind, it's like, this may be someone I have to cut when it goes down. Exactly. Do I really need that? Yeah. Can I do something else? Can I reallocate the work? Can I think of a different way to do it to keep my fixed costs down? Right? Because you never know when it's going to turn down.
Exactly.
So you have to be as lean in the best of times as you are in the worst of times.
All right. So this is David DeRode can't do this. I'm going back to my question then.
Okay.
Your 18 months question. So now that you think we are in a bit of an 18-month uptick here, and you feel like, where are we in that stage? Oh, still violent.
Yeah, no, we're early days, right? Like, remember we're what, June?
Yep.
And the bombs started dropping in March, right? And so,
by the way, he means actual bombs, not just bad news bombs.
Yeah, no, this is the Strait of Hormuz is closed.
Okay.
Like as of now, we're in this weird, we're going to have a peace deal tomorrow, crude craters. Yet everybody's saying, oh, we're going to run out. It's going to be $200. Nobody has any idea.
Right.
But, we with what we do, it's short cycle barrels, right? Like work over maintenance, that kind of thing. So as we moved into April, May, phones started ringing. Really within the past month, kind of mid-May to now, the phone started ringing. We had to go from defense when oil was $50 to offense now. Got a big hiring event in Midland tomorrow, which unfortunately I can't make. But it's that pivot, within 30 days, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to get more rigs out? How are we going to, do this? It's challenging, which means you just have to stay lean. But I am of the opinion that we're not going back to $50, right? And that we're going to be at a reasonable price for this industry for, at least the next couple of years.
I like that term, short cycle barrel. I feel like that benefits a company like you tremendously.
Mm-hmm. We are.
Yeah.
Workover, maintenance can be some of the best return dollars in E&P spends in terms of, cash, and then we get their money back and make a return on that. The problem is it's a lot of it is not the big, 1,000 barrel a day well, right? Like it's 100 barrel a day well, or 50.
You win games
so
with base hits too.
It takes a lot. Yeah. And moderating decline is something that's very important. And then as I look out and think about, all the oil that's left in place with all of these unconventional wells, someone will figure out how to go back in and get that, right? If you 100%. think they're getting, I've heard 6, I've heard 10% of the oil out, right? I have no doubt that there's not an engineer somewhere that is figuring out, how do I get it to 15? How do I get it to 20, right? And that's correct. Massive volumes.
Absolutely. That is, audience, I mean, we're not going on, real thin branches here, but what he just said, I believe, is such an opportunity for when people talk about what's next, mm-hmm. that, data, we're going to talk data centers and all that stuff, but gathering and capturing the trapped oil and gas that they think is, well, we've already got that. It's a declining, it's, we're on wherever we are on the tail here, let's go to the next one type stuff. Because they have shareholders that they have to report to as well.
You think about, like when I first started at Key in 2005, and I made my first trip out to the Permian Basin. There were hardly any drilling rigs going, right? It was a mature basin, but everybody figured out, how do I squeeze the last drop of hydrocarbons out of this well, right? Like that was the easy money was years ago, and then it was really technical engineering. How do I get the last drop out of this well? And we're early days in that,
I remember 2006, 7, 8, probably 7. My family's been in fracking pretty much the whole time, and I went to a conference and they were talking about, this is what's going to change what you just said. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about shale and fracking, and we were selling fluid ends at that time, but nobody really knew it because it was quiet. It was in Fort Worth. That's really the only two places.
Everybody was fracking conventional wells. It was just to open up the zone. It wasn't what we were doing.
But those were different types of fracks, right? Yeah. And it wasn't the high pressure stuff that they were using today. And I will never forget, a guy from the Middle East was at this conference, and it was kind of Q&A. And he stands up and he's like, "You guys are lying. You're doing this because that's." I know when it was. It was 2007, 8 when the prices were going to $104 a barrel. Mm-hmm. He's like, he goes, "We think this is all propaganda to pressure us to pump more oil out of the Middle East." He's like, "You're not going to find this much gas that you think you are here in the States with quote unquote shale." And I'm like, I don't know, man. I feel like they're about to find, and that sure enough, again, I'm sure there were other people in the room that were like, this guy doesn't really understand what's coming their way, how much competition the U.S. is about to be. Because we weren't competitors. No. We were importers.
Yeah. No, the Cheniere facility was to import, not to export, right? Which was a great pivot to be able to export.
Yeah.
We got tons of gas.
Tons of gas. Well, what am I missing here? Because I want to talk about, you briefly talked about your hiring event. Mm-hmm. I believe would you describe yourself as a boots on the ground CEO?
I have been described as a boots on the ground CEO.
Okay.
I tend to think of it more, that's where the people are, that's where I should be, right? Like we've got, 1,500-ish people and less than 50 in Houston. So, the action's out there, right? And I'm a big believer in the, what do the books call it? Management by walking around.
Yeah.
Right. Like eyes on to see what's really going on, because you can't fix what you don't see. And I've given this, I've said this before, but I'll repeat it. It was on somebody else's podcast. But when I I'll never forget, I got promoted to vice president. Okay. I was at Dynegy. And told my parents, and they're like, "Great, let's go have dinner." We go to dinner, and my dad's like, "Ha, you're a mushroom now." And I was like, "What do you mean, Dad?" And he's like, "Well, you're kept in the dark and fed BS, right? Which is how they grow mushrooms, right?" And it's very true that the higher you get up the ladder, the further you are away, and everything you get is filtered. Not even necessarily consciously, mm-hmm. right? But no one wants to give the raw. Right. Details of what's going on. And so I like to look, see, feel, touch, hear, right? And you have to take it with a grain of salt, right? And do it in a way that is not stepping on or over your managers, but do it in a way so you get the raw, unvarnished truth of what's happening.
Well, I hope I'm not, I don't think I am with this story, telling untold stories, but we were out in Midland for the barbecue, mm-hmm. and it was the day, I guess probably the day before the barbecue. So we were everyone sitting at the restaurant across from the hotel, and you and I were the only two at this one table, kind of waiting on some people to show up. And it was, called 6 p.m., happy hour type thing. And all of a sudden, these two guys came up, and they said, "Mr. Dodson?" And you looked at them, you're like, "Yeah." They go, "I'm so-and-so, and I'm so-and-so. We work for you here in..." And they go, "We just started, but we recognize you." And it was very clear that Marshall Dodson had become Mr. Dodson instantly. You were still genuine. You weren't anybody different, but you turned, you started talking to these guys, and you were 2 or 3 minutes into it. And I realized this is not going to be a 3-minute conversation. Like you were, "Where are you guys from? What do you do? How'd you get here? When did we mm-hmm. start? How do we train?" And I'm like, oh man, he's not asking peripheral questions here. Like he's wanting to know, yeah, are you guys doing your job? Well, how can I help you? What is going on? And I ended up walking away, and you were with these guys for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I thought two things. Number one, how quickly you checked into these guys, which was awesome. And my second thought was, with 1,500 employees, you really can't be off.
No, and it's exhausting.
Yes.
You wouldn't think talking to people wears you out, but it does. You know that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Because you got to be on point. But I'll ask you this, like, when was the last time you applied for a job at Upright to see what that's like, right? Or any one of the companies you have to see what that experience is like, right? Is it hard to apply and get a job there? Did somebody call you back? If you used a fake name, which I've done occasionally. But
that's a great, to see if you're getting a call back.
Yeah, see if they call me back. See if I get a return call.
Did you get a return call?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
Eventually, we've got a good process now,
okay.
But we had some pretty weak systems initially.
Okay.
But yeah, no, the other analogy I'll say is that the further you get up the ladder, the harder it is to see what the experience is at the bottom. And that experience at the bottom, those are your front line. Those are the people at Key interacting with our customers. Those are the people that we expect to follow the process, to work safely and do a great job. But if you don't feel valued as you come through, what do you think about that company, and how does that make you buy into what they want you to do? Right. So yeah, I've gone in at keyenergyjobs.com, filled it out. Right.
Well, I mean, that's a job aspect of it, but you're very big on safety.
Mm-hmm.
You do videos, you're engaging. I've seen, there's new technologies today, whether they're GPS tracking, cameras in the cars. These aren't for Big Brother.
No.
I don't care what you're talking about, right? I care that you're focused on the road. And I've seen people engage, not necessarily from Key, but just other companies with a Marshall Dodson thread. And it's like, hey, good luck with that, Big Brother type thing. And you're like, well, actually.
Yeah, you just explain why.
Yeah, that's right.
Explain why. Like, it's not there to spy on you. Don't care I do care what you're doing in the car. But
right.
If you sit in the truck and eat lunch, nobody's going to watch you. But driving is one where we've been, no one brings bad habits of nippling up a BOP to the oil field, right? But we all bring bad habits of driving. And so how do we break bad habits? It's through constant coaching correction, right? Being mindful of it and then making adjustments, because look, it's hard enough worrying about your own employees getting hurt on location, but when you worry about your employees hurting someone else, right? Big human element to that, also a big financial element to that, because we don't make that much money. So,
have you seen your activities? Has there been improvement?
Oh, it's been huge improvement.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's been phenomenal. I mean, we were able to have our the deductible reduced at Key, right? And this is a company that, I've been chewed out by many people in London for derailing trains or.
I'm not laughing at that part. I'm laughing. I know the hidden. That's great.
Yeah. But no, we've had such a great track record, and we've been at it for like 3 years now. And people, when we first started doing it, I asked people, what do you think about the cameras? What do you think? And they would complain. I'm like, look, we're not doing sound. We only watch. And now when I ask, and I always do, what do you think of the cameras in the truck? And they're like, I actually find myself driving the speed limit, stopping at stop signs when I'm off work too. I had one guy say he was driving along and his wife was like, why are you driving so slow? He's like, I'm going the speed limit,
It is an amazing thing where, if you get on a Facebook neighbor page and just people complain, which is my favorite thing to do. I like to go on Facebook Marketplace and just low bid everything and then see what my neighbors are complaining about. But, there was somebody complaining about, why does everybody back in Houston? And my immediate thought was, because 60% of these people work for oil and gas companies, and they've been trained to back in.
It's also easier to park a pickup truck that way.
Well, fair,
but
too.
But yeah, that was, I do a lot of social media posts and kind of talk about all the things we have going on. But my biggest LinkedIn post, which had over 50,000 views, I was walking to the courtyard in Odessa from the restaurant across the parking lot by myself, as I do many times. And I look out and I see an entire row of white trucks backed in with one pulled in front pulled in. And so I took a picture and I said, "Who's not in the oil field in Odessa?"
Correct.
That was so fun.
This guy doesn't work for us.
Yeah, he obviously is not oil field because everybody else is.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
they know it.
You just get in the habit.
I want to go to talk about technology here in a minute, but I've got a couple things here. I'm going to let you. This is choose your own adventure. Would you like to talk about the future of well servicing, energy demand, and the bigger picture, which is kind of cool because you're short cycle, or the energy perspective? What would you like to talk about there? See how great this podcast is?
Yeah.
Thoreau doesn't do that.
Yeah.
He shoves it down your throat. He's like, no, this is welcome to this podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you, Caterpillar.
Yeah. Thank you, Caterpillar. This is awesome. Thank you for the great engines we use too.
This guy's smooth.
What were those again? Just pick one.
Well, I feel like I know the future well servicing really does sound pretty good. Kind of what I've heard. It sounds domestic centered. It sounds like if you have the quality product on demand and you can do a good job, then a good well servicing company is going to be in a good situation. You'll always need well servicing.
You will always need well servicing. Okay. Whether or not you make money doing it, that's on you. That's the challenge, right? When I look at like going back 10 years ago, if we had called them yards then, not districts, but if we had yards where the cost of labor was at 35% of revenue, we'd look at shutting it down, right? Like it was, these economics are whacked. We're obviously not making a return on the equipment. We need to shut it down, today, if we get that at 50%, we're doing high fives, right? And so our price per hour that we charge a customer is about the same as it was 10 years ago in most basins. And the inflation and the cost has just destroyed the returns. We're all doing fine because every company in this business has either been through bankruptcy and written down their equipment like we have, or they bought it out of bankruptcy or a distress situation. So GAAP earnings, you got PBT, but cash and the earning a return on the capital invested, nowhere near.
What is PBT?
Profit before tax.
What is it?
Profit before tax. You got EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, PBT, PAT, net income.
Peanut butter toast.
Yeah, we got all kinds of acronyms.
This is not the financial podcast.
Okay, sorry.
That's our John Daniel podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. We have something for everyone. Have you been on with John and Bill yet?
I have.
They're great.
Yeah.
My favorite thing that John and Bill do, no introduction. Just camera's on. Marshall, question number one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, John, I go, give the audience something.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't. By the way, I couldn't love John more than we do.
He's awesome. He's amazing. But I got to tell you, after, almost 10 years as a public company CFO, you get immune to that kind of thing. You sit down at the table, there's no perfunctories. It's, well, you said this and margins and you can't answer the question because they're asking you for, non-public. So you got to say what you want to say.
Kind of work your way around it.
Yeah.
So my other joke recently, and I don't know if this is a joke, nobody wants to go to dinner with me anymore because I talk about nothing but AI and peptides. That's it. Those are my two subjects these days. We're not going to go down the peptide rabbit hole here. But by your answer, I'll be talking to you about that later now that you say that. And secondly, AI. Data, I'm saying AI is kind of all inclusive. It's a joke that I say, but really data centers, power behind the meter, the grid, that world is changing. It's my other kind of comment that I say to people is that nothing has benefited oil and gas more than TikTok. And what I mean by that is if oil and gas companies would have said to the U.S. consumer, we're going to need more energy for lights, they'd have been like, you make too much money. You get nothing more. They would have helped. You'd have gotten no support. Instead, they were like, I want more videos on my phone, and I want to post immediately from anywhere in the world and without a hiccup. And because it's social media, it's kind of a clean, innocent thing, and California needs it so bad. I feel like energy and oil and gas companies are just getting this wave of kind of help from other industries for the first time in a long time.
I agree. I mean, I think we have... Our industry has a bad rap or has historically. And if you think about it, no one begrudges the $1,000 phone that you have, right? And you think about everything we buy, prices, all that kind of stuff. But almost every person in the United States goes to the gas station every week, every other week, and fills up. And you see that price, and you have to have that fuel.
Correct.
You cannot get by without that fuel. And so there becomes like a sense of almost entitlement. Like, why is it going up? Right? Like it comes from the pump, right? Why is it? Why am I being charged more? I flipped it up and held it down. Why am I being charged more? Right? Without any idea of the capital that was risked to go find that and to deliver it to them amazingly so cheap. So I think that the demand on the power side, which is, we all know, the only way to meet that demand is with gas and gas turbines and all the different technologies around that. Everything else is intermittent or too far off. But yeah, it puts us in more of a hero seat for now.
Correct.
But
you say we'll for see. Now. Yeah. Okay. That lends another question. Are you one of these, and I don't mean to say it like that, are you of the AI is a bubble person, or are you of the, we're on the beginning of an AI revolution, data revolution?
So the application of AI, not a bubble,
okay.
Right? Real value creation possibility. I question the capital going into the data centers, right? Like I just step back and I look and I see capital just running after these returns, right? To create what is ultimately a commodity, right? The compute is a commodity, right? Like different chips, different configurations, data centers. I'm moving my hands and I feel trapped. But
you look great. No one can see. But they better be watching.
And you think about that, and you think about all the other capital booms that we've had, right? When you look historically, you've got a land rush going on. You've got everybody tripping over themselves to build these data centers, right? And you think about shale, right? The returns will come. Production is what matters. Get it. The returns will come. When you think about my days at Dynegy with gas-fired power gen, right? Get it. The returns will come. We've got a PowerPoint that shows it's going to be X in 10 years. Okay, great. A little bit different with the fiber optic cable and the boom that led to that. But you can go back to the cattle industry and all the money that was raised and flooded that ultimately collapsed it because you're producing a commodity. So I don't question AI. I don't question the value proposition on that, but I question how much of the value is going to be captured in the data centers, right?
In the data centers.
And how much of the value is going to be captured by the software versus the use of the software. And I think people today are putting a lot of value on that into the agents themselves and the softwares themselves. That's not where the value is created. The value is created in companies. And so when you think about how much money am I going to spend on tokens to get X output, right? That hasn't really been solved for, right? So I've got a lot of questions on the economics, but none on the utility. I mean, we're doing some things with AI. We've seen, and I don't mean just making like funny pictures in ChatGPT, right? Which is fun. But if you think about it, that's all great at, what is it, like $10 a month, $15 a month?
Depends, yeah.
$150 a month? Are people spending that to make funny dog videos? No.
Well, yeah, you're talking about the individual. And
right. But it's the same thing with, if I spend $100,000 a year on tokens to replace my admin, am I really better off doing that? Or would I rather have a person? Like, where's that break even on some things? I think AI today is excellent at math and excellent at coding and things like that. It's a lot harder to apply it to different things, at least in my experience so far.
No, I don't think you're far off. You say different things. I mean, really, I'm going to tighten that up a little bit to say, because I think you're saying into an applicable use case for your company.
Mm-hmm. So you brought up Bob Chitwood. I had a vision a while back. I was like, wouldn't it be great if we could create a voice to text tool so that every work plan at Key was done in essence with Bob Chitwood standing there. And so we set out to create basically a work planning tool, somewhat of a reference, and we call it Ask Bob, right? So
I love it.
Yeah, and it's got like the little logo app. It kind of looks like Bob.
I bet he loved that, by the way.
I probably should tell him about it. I'm kidding. I've told him about the name. But it sounds easy, right? Like, oh, you just load all your stuff in there and it gives you an answer. No, it's not, because most of the agents out there, most of it wants to please, right? And so it will try to find an answer. And so getting everything right, because we're talking about people's lives, right? Like, this high risk stuff. And if it doesn't ask the right questions, if it doesn't stop and say, wait, I don't have enough information to answer that.
Yeah, we can't have a fake answer here.
And there's tons of fake answers we were getting initially. And so it's taken a lot of effort to train it. We're probably a couple months away from launching it. But even nothing off the shelf gets, Tex-Mex Spanish, right? Which is not
Spanglish.
Yeah. And in the oil field, everything has multiple names, right? Wells have multiple names. Every tool we have multiple names. They have multiple names in English and Spanish, right? And getting through all of that has been challenging, and that's just reps, right? But
I love that little. That's one of those things where only carnal knowledge can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said.
Yeah.
Because I can say I can fix your AI. My thing understands Spanish. Not this Spanish.
No, not this Spanish where you say something to me in Spanish, I say something back to you in English.
Yes.
I give you 2 English words and a Spanish word. Like, it struggles with that. And like our guys in New Mexico, which is part of the Permian Basin, have a different word for a BOP than the Spanish word for a BOP in West Texas, which is different than South Texas, right? And so we got to capture all that. And so it's just time and getting reps at the system, but it's not that easy.
My favorite is when you go to New Mexico and they start talking about the Permian and they're like, well, East Texas. And I'm like, East Texas? This doesn't make, what are they talking about? Well, they're talking about east of New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And it took me, you click in, but every single time they would say something, and I feel like they're talking about West Texas. They're not talking about
the Haynesville.
Correct. Like, they're talking about West Texas. They're just talking about east of this. And it's just an amazing, you guys have people moving all over the place at all times. Well, I had other great questions here. What do I want to know, Marshall? What do you want the people to know before I deliver some phenomenal question? Have I asked so many great questions that
you are such a great interviewer.
Hanaro brought up that Ask Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I never put two and two together that was Bob Chitwood.
Bob. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, but the vision is, one of the challenges we face in the oil field today, and remember, like, years ago, people talked about the great shift change that was coming. Well, we're at the end of the great shift change.
I can't believe that.
And so there's so much knowledge that is left and that is leaving. And so tools to help make sure people know the right questions to ask and they're talking about the right hazards.
Is this a fair question to ask, Key? Are there technologies that, not just AI technology, are there technologies you guys are working on to bring in? And are you rewarded for new technologies? Or are you rewarded for consistent, safe work every single day? Like, what?
Yes and no.
Okay.
There are some very progressive EMPs out there willing to invest to change the dynamic of the industry. But it comes back to economics, right? So we can automate what we do, but no one's going to pay 4 times the current hourly rate to do that because you're not any faster.
Yeah.
And
what will people pay for? Essentially.
So there, people are like, well, drilling rigs and this and fracs this, and I'm like, okay, but we don't have the same economics, and that ultimately drives a lot of those cap. If I can't make a return on a conventional rig today, if it costs 3 times as much, I really can't make a return. I mean, you make a return, but not a market acceptable return, not where you'd want to put capital.
So, Marshall, I could ask another phenomenal question about Key and give you another home run to hit. But I believe that companies are the sum of the people that work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I started this podcast the way I'm going to end this, that I think, and you and I had a conversation years ago. I said, look, the more the industry can get to know Marshall Dodson, the better it is for you, the industry, Key, et cetera. I would like, in Caterpillar, great audience, great listenership.
And great culture. And culture is ultimately
incredible.
What matters. Right?
It's a 100-year-old company.
Yeah.
And they're acting like they just started. and you're like, how are you guys doing this around the world?
Mm-hmm.
Mining, construction, oil and gas. Their data's, their engine world right now is the envy of every engine company out there. Yeah, no, their culture is just great, but they've been great with this. So, I would love to get a last piece of, what is a piece of advice that you can give our audience, Marshall, that is something that you've learned over your career, your history, your time as CEO, your time as a husband, father, whatever you want to say.
Wow.
I want, because I just feel that not everyone's going to get 45 minutes with Marshall Dodson, and they're not going to get to know you over an 8-year period. And I've seen you do this. I mean, I've just seen it, and I want people to know something about you to where they're like, I'm going to give Key a shot. I'm going to send a fake name in to ask for a job like Marshall did, because I want to work for this guy. So there you go.
Wow, that's a big mandate.
Yes, it is.
I'm not exactly sure where to take that one. I think I'll start in one place and then go to another place.
Okay.
So when you talk about business, I am very much a believer that businesses are the sum of the people involved in the business, right? And Jim Wickland's very big on culture, and I completely agree that the culture is really what sets the company up. And cultures are bigger than the individuals, but they're set by the leadership, right? And setting that right culture, getting people to do the right thing when no one's watching, getting them to own what they do when no one else is around is a huge challenge. And as I think about my career and that learning coming about, one of my first observations was we all buy the same stuff, right? Like every service company out there buys the same stuff. So what sets you apart? And it's your culture, right? And what is culture? Culture is people. And so it's trying to create, ultimately I want Key to be the place people wish they could get a job. And if I succeed in that, then everything else should take care of itself, right? Like I want it to be the place where, man, if I got on a Key, I'd be doing great.
Yeah.
But I'll take it to a different place because, in terms of personal advice and learnings over time, I'm a big believer that you learn through repetition, whether it is playing lacrosse and just how many times you are out in the yard with the sticks, right? To business, how many times you do a task, how many challenges you face, how many problems you solve. All of that builds the muscle memory. And it's like when my daughter started working, I had a conversation with her. I said, look, Bailey, you're just starting off your first year at work, right? And you got 40 hours a week. But if you work 60 and the person next to you works 40, at the end of the year, you've had a year and a half of reps. They've had 1 year. 2 years, you've had 3 years of reps. They've had 2, and it just grows exponentially. And so, it's hard to find. I don't think culturally we're at the place where that's celebrated. And I think to some degree, like with myself, it became unhealthy, right? Like too much. But finding that right balance of really diving in and getting that experience, because the easiest way to get that next job is to be doing it before the promotion's there, right? Like you really need to be doing your boss's job to be in that job. And the only way you can do that is to start doing it before you're there. And the only way you can do that is to get the people below you doing what you're doing, right? Or you work a lot. And it's generally a combination of the two. But if you think about your own career, you didn't know what that next step was like until you started doing it, right? And the only way you have the time to do that is you have great people like here in the studio and your whole team who can take those tasks off of you and allow you to move into the next role before it's really there for you.
Well, that is a great answer. And speaking of good teammates, I said, Henaro, your boss is getting, Henaro works for Upright Digital. He's been with us for close to 5 years. Absolutely love Henaro. But
he's awesome.
He's awesome. He does a lot of work. He does work for you guys, around you guys, barbecue, et cetera. And I said, hey, Henaro, your boss is going to be on the podcast tomorrow. You want to come in? He's like, I can't. I got stuff going on. He goes, make sure you treat him right. Tell him hello. So Henaro says hello. Well, listen, Marshall, I should have said this at the beginning. It's keyenergy.com.
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 No www.
Yeah, that's well, we've learned, haven't we? That was early on. We always joked that we could tell how old somebody is when they would say www.keyenergy. I'm like, you don't need the www. They get it. Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Yep.
We wish you guys, I mean, listen, this is, folks, this is not I'm not doing a commercial for Key. I'm doing a commercial for consistency, quite honestly, for saying what you're going to do and doing what you say. And thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on the Caterpillar Energy Pipeline podcast. Folks, that's going to wrap us up for today. If you want to check us out on any of our socials, we are on YouTube. You need to go to the www.caterpillar/oil and gas, and they've got the way that they index all of their podcasts is incredible. They do. I mean, they're Caterpillar.
Yeah.
I mean, Caterpillar. They know what they're doing. Yeah. And they've got any subject you want to talk about, from well servicing to drilling, et cetera. And this one will be up in the next couple of days here. So thank you very much, Marshall.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Before we let you go, I do remember now, it was David, you, and Victoria were giving me some crap.
Just a little bit.
They just hit their 100th episode.
Really?
They just did their 100th episode, yeah. So we kind of robbed you, but you were back on there late last year though, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, you're out then. Don't worry about it. I was going to reinvite you, but
yeah, no.
Invite revoked.
I was early. Remember you ambushed me into that podcast? Told me we'd go taste tequila, and then you said, hey.
None of that sounds familiar.
Why don't you come on the pod?
None of that sounds familiar. Marshall Dodson, thank you for everything.
Thank
Wish you guys the best of luck.
Thank you.